Today on First Century Foundations, we're back at this amazing site at Magdala. And we're going to focus in a little bit on Mary Magdalene, but also on a number of the other women who were followers of Jesus in the Gospels. All that's next, right here on First Century Foundations. Welcome back to First Century Foundations. The last couple of weeks we've been here at this amazing site at Magdala on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. And we've talked about the synagogue, we talked about the community, the fishery here, so many wonderful things that we're learning. Today we're going to focus on Mary Magdalene, but also on some of the other women who were involved in Jesus' ministry. And they actually have a site down here by the water where, they have built a place that honors these women who were a part of the ministry of Jesus. Father Kelly is going to explain to us some of the significance of what it is that they've built there. But more than just a place, I want you to understand that Jesus did some incredible things when it comes to a woman's place in society. He actually, elevated the status of women here in the Hebrew or the Jewish society to treat them the same way as he treated anyone else. That's one of the great things about Jesus. So stay with us. Father Kelly's going to come and explain some of those things together. We'll be back in a few minutes here on First Century Foundations.
Up next, Jeff and Father Kelly discuss the importance of women in the Bible at the ancient site of Magdala. First Century Foundations is continuing to bless the land of Israel. And this is all possible because of people like you. With your help, we have been able to support local ministries within Israel who are caring for some of the nation's most needy by providing food and clothing for the poor, and much more. The House of Light is one such ministry that not only ministers in prisons, but also runs a summer camp for children.
We're in the middle of this camp and all the noise of the children around us, rejoicing in the Lord and in your help, and we just want to say thank you.
This is all possible because of your prayers and support. Call or write today and become a monthly partner for just $30 a month or more. And be sure to ask for your free Israel Prayer Watch so you can be up to date on all that is happening with these ministries in the Holy Land. We are waiting to hear from you.
So Father Kelly, here at the site of Magdala, you've built a very special building here, and you're going to tell us a little bit about that. But, this is the town that Mary Magdalene is associated with. But really, there were a number of women that Jesus was involved with in his ministry. And, what I love about reading through the Gospels is that in spite of, how women were considered in Jewish culture, Jesus actually treated them exactly the same as he did everyone else.
Yes.
And that's really kind of what he does, isn't it?
Yes.
We're all the same.
Yes. And actually here we give women the most beautiful part in this building, the atrium of the women. And there's a lot actually of thought in this whole part here. We can start off. We start with Luke chapter 8. And in this text it shows Jesus in full gear in his mission with the 12 apostles, and they're in the boat chapel, and the women. And the women are named Mary Magdalene, Susanna and Johanna, and many others. So these three columns come straight out of this line from the Gospel.
Yeah.
And then we add other columns like Martha and Mary, Mary of Cleophas. And then, I don't know, Jeff, if you want to, you might ask me, well, why do we do pillars for the women?
Why do we do pillars for the women, Father Kelly?
Because in the Gospel passage goes on to say that these women supported Jesus from their substance.
So they were financial supporters, essentially.
You can construe that for sure. They were all in, you would say. somehow when you hear the word substance, it's different from pocket change, it's different from leftovers, it's something very substantial, substantial. And then you might say, well, these are fisher people, they're not, very wealthy people, they're hardworking, they're earning their daily bread. Well, wait a second. Johanna is the wife of Chusa. And Chusa is listed there in that text as the head administrator or finance minister. We'd have to get that more defined probably, of Herod Antipas, who's the king. And then if we remember who Herod Antipas is, it's like growing up in the house when you're a boy and your dad's president. Okay. And what kind of connections will you not have? And we think of Herod Antipas moving his capital to the lake, so he obviously has spending ability. And Chusa is the head of his household. And then we think of, and Johanna is the wife, and then we think about Herod Antipas's nephew, who is Herod Agrippa, a grandson of Herod the Great, who is responsible for making Claudius emperor in Rome when Caligula is murdered by the Praetorian Guard. He's very influential in this. So then you're talking about the Herods for 3 generations, who are not just some local chieftain, but they're actually have a key. They can walk in and out of the imperial house in Rome for 3 generations, Augustus, Tiberius, and Claudius.
So that makes it so that they have access to a lot of resource.
Well, it just tells you that in Jesus' community, and we very truly and surely heard that Jesus worked with the poor, with the sick, with the marginalized. His heart was filled with compassion. And give them yourselves to eat. We have to get involved, so there's a great compassion, but everybody has contact to Jesus. Jesus can have contact with everybody. And so this lady, Johanna, is from the highest echelon of society. And this is only 3 miles walking from Tiberias, 1 hour walk. You might want to do it in the heat right now, but it's only a 1 hour walk. So then what would she say to Chusa? Hey, buddy, honey, I'm going for a walk with my girlfriends up to the lake. And here she is with Mary Magdalene, Jesus, maybe Mary the mother, Jesus, other women, and they're all here together. And you can see also then these pillars, a lot of people have difficulty in accessing to people, but somebody opens and makes the connection. And these women were surely very involved in that, because they had a heart, they had a compassion. We think of the stories of the Via Dolorosa. We have the women who are there, and Jesus is consoling them. But they are women that have the nerve to be there with him when the apostles are gone. Mary Magdalene is faithful at the cross. In fact, she's mentioned 12 times in the gospel, and 11 times are at the crucifixion and in the resurrection, mentioned by name. And only 1 time in the public life, which is this text of Luke chapter 8. So these women were through thick and thin. And it says, many others whom Jesus healed and delivered. So these are women that owe a lot to Jesus, but Jesus also builds with them, and they are pillars in his community. And we want to honor that strong and beautiful commitment. And it's also expressed with this line here. In this holy place, Ecclesia, the church, gives thanks to the most holy Trinity for the feminine genius, for each woman, for their eternal dignity, and for the great works done by God throughout history through them.
Beautiful.
The women always ask me here in the groups that come to visit, they say, can you please repeat that guy? Her husband wasn't listening. He was distracted. He was distracted with his iPhone.
Well, you heard it here. We don't have to repeat it. You can just play it back. But that's amazing.
We also have a very special woman here. Can you tell whose hands these are, Jeff?
I don't know.
Well, these are the hands of Mary, the mother of Jesus. And in the public life, because this is a shrine to the public life of Jesus, her role is very low-key. It's not front center stage. But she's there praying in a very powerful way. And we see in John's Gospel, at Cana, they have no wine. This kickstarts the public life of Jesus, which is no small event in John's Gospel.
Well, what a great learning today. And we want to think about and give respect, to the incredible women that traveled with Jesus during his ministry. And I mentioned it before, but the one thing I love is how that Jesus actually, through his actions and through his relationships with women while he ministered here in the Galilee and in other places, actually sort of elevated their position in a culture that otherwise would not have done that. And what I believe is that Jesus does that for every single one of us. There's a phrase that we use often: the ground is level at the foot of the cross. And no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, no matter how inferior you might feel, Jesus loves you just the same as he loves any one of us. And that's a beautiful message for us to take away today. So thank you, Father Kelly. This has been very enlightening, and we just appreciate being able to be here so much.
You're most welcome.
After this short break, Jeff visits Rita at the shelter on Mount Carmel. Jerusalem, the holy city, is the focus of much of the world's attention. And Psalm 122 tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Yet do we really know why, or even how? Why does God want us to specifically pray for the peace of this ancient city? And how do you pray for a city that for most of us seems so foreign and so far away? Praying for the Peace of Jerusalem, the new book by Jeff Futers, now reveals God's purpose for the holy city and all of Israel, and why he wants every believer to pray for his holy land. Now more than ever, the people of Israel need our prayers and support. And when you order your copy of the book Praying for the Peace of Jerusalem for just $10 plus shipping and handling, you are also helping these precious people in a very real way. Call the number on your screen now, or go online to firstcenturyfoundations.com and order Praying for the Peace of Jerusalem, and begin to pray for Israel with understanding and purpose.
Hey, thanks for staying with us. We are now at Carmel, at the shelter here with Rita. Rita, tell us about where we're at.
Okay, we are really at the very top of Mount Carmel, and we have had a shelter here as part of the work we do, and it's been really a place for women who have been running from violence in their lives, in their homes, and then in the last 11 years we have had the great privilege of taking women who actually were fleeing the violence in their own countries, in Sudan, Darfur, part of Sudan, Eritrea, even from Ethiopia, some incidents that they have suffered through. Some of the stories are beyond belief.
Wow.
And I think we have shared a bit with the viewers that we have taken in children whose parents were not able to cross, even ones who saw that their mother was killed at the border or taken prisoner. Children dropped off here because the parents couldn't take care of them. So in a sense, we're fulfilling the words of taking care in the book of James, to take care of the widows and the orphans, except that our orphans and our widows may not fill the traditional meanings, but I think it's God's meaning, which is that the widows are ones who don't have anyone to care for them.
Yeah.
And the children as well. And so that's what we think of as our widows and orphans. And we've been privileged to see dozens of women come through our doors, and many children born here. One famous story of how he was born in my car.
Oh, wow.
That was a surprise, both to the mother and to me and my staff. But by the grace of God, we have had many wonderful stories of women finding a place of refuge, a place of peace, a place where they, after the terrible journey through the Sinai, where, as I said, some had been trafficked and brutally tortured and raped, assaulted by men and smugglers in the desert, that they would come to us and really seek a place of healing, a place of quiet, a place where they could experience the love of the Father, where they knew they were safe.
Yeah.
And so it's not easy, because on top of that, people come with the baggage of who they are.
Right.
And the pain of who they are. And even because we're a shelter that took in women from different countries, the cultural differences, the historic differences between women.
Sure.
But we've been able to walk through that. So here we are, more than 11 years later, of taking in the African asylum seekers. The border is closed, so now the women who come to us are women already in the community, but maybe suffering from post-traumatic stress, or dealing with abandonment by partners, or dealing with violence in the home. So we are working with a different population, but many of the same women in terms of their background.
Yeah. First Century Foundations has been involved in a number of projects here, and we're so grateful to you, our partners, who help with ministries like the shelter. What are some of the things that we've been able to help with?
Oh my. You know, over the years, I can't tell you what it means to see that little email message coming from, usually from Marion Williamson, just saying, we have a gift of this many, whatever it is, dollars, and it always comes at the time we need it. Whether it's our holiday outreach time that we've been able to invite people from the community, people from this village here, Druze people, Jewish friends, just to show the love of God to them during these different events that we have. And it's such a thrill to be able to buy new things, not have to have things hand me down. I think we've got at least 2 refrigerators. When ours broke down here, I remember the engine was replaced, I believe, by First Century to help us after the terrible Carmel fire. We were able to get a stove because, you know, can you imagine women, maybe 15 women cooking on the same stove? Oh my goodness. You need to replace them every few years.
I can't imagine.
And so we're so grateful for that. And we're grateful for the many things just filling. Sometimes it's a general kind of need of filling the pantry. We didn't look at the pantry today, but we try to keep it stocked with everyday needs, the cornflakes and the beans and the rice, nothing fancy, but the day-to-day and the toiletries. We were in looking at the diapers. These were all gifts. And we're so thankful that there's an ongoing relationship with First Century Foundations. And really, it's great to have an opportunity to say thank you.
Oh, we're grateful to be involved, and you know, it's practical needs that are being met, but it goes beyond that, doesn't it? There's life change that's happening. There are things that are happening here, and stories that you want to share about Emmanuel, maybe?
Yeah, Emmanuel, a great name, God with us.
Yes.
Emmanuel's story is a pretty unique one to us. I mentioned before that our orphans are not necessarily ones who don't have living parents, but ones who don't have parents who can care for them. And I would say maybe 2009, he was dropped off one day by his stepfather, Magdala. And we had some family living here that the stepfather thought maybe they would take care of him, but basically he left him with us, the shelter. And just walked out and barely has come back over these years. And we have raised Emmanuel. And he has turned into a lovely young man. For that year that after the stepfather had brought him across the border, Emmanuel hasn't seen his mother. She stayed in Egypt and now is in another African country with no connection to him.
Wow.
True abandonment. Emmanuel was kept in a room for about a year, just watching television. Can you imagine that?
No.
6 years old, not put into school. So when he came to us, he had to get used to school. He had to, basically, it was like a wild child. We would get phone calls, there's violence, there's there's aggressive. Now he is just a delight, loves God, loves the Lord.
Amazing.
Can't wait to get to camp. He told me the other day, I've got 3 camps I want to go to this summer. And again, thanks to First Century Foundations, we have been able, these are short camps. These are 5 days, all wonderful believing camps, just to go deeper with God. And we don't know his future. Actually, that's a huge question, is what will happen to him. He's not guaranteed any kind of citizenship, but we're trusting God. for
Yeah.
his life. And for now, he's our son.
Well, we'll be
stays
praying
here.
about that and asking our partners to pray about
Yeah, it's good to be able to share and really talk about the lives of the children that really, for all practical reasons, we've raised. Another one of those children is Samson. Samson is now, I believe, 8 years old. His mother came to us because she wanted an abortion. She didn't want this child. She's an Eritrean woman. And somehow one of the NGOs in Tel Aviv said there's a place that you can go and have your baby. But sadly, this baby had been rejected in the womb. She had the baby, she kept him, but we began to see some very unhealthy behavior on her part, somewhat aggressive towards him even as a baby. We said, why don't you go and get settled and then come back? But to make a very long story short, over those 8 years, she barely came back. We've had heart operations for him. We've taken care of him. He's a special needs child. He's hyperactive and has some other issues. And so we've been looking for a home for him because he can't be taken out of the country. I know people have come here and wanted to, but Israel does not allow for international adoptions. So now there's a possibility of a home he can be in, because quite honestly, you can't keep children like this in a shelter with other women. And so it presents to us a real painful challenge of finding a home for this little boy where he will be nurtured and kept. And so that's our prayer.
Rita, it's clear to me that you're not just, providing a service here. You love these people and you love these kids. They're your family. And I love to see that. And it's so amazing to be able to partner with the shelter and with you and an organization like this. You've got some other projects that you've got the ladies involved in. Tell us a little bit about a couple of those.
Yeah, one is called Africa's Heart. I believe we showed it a while ago. It's a project where the women are given the opportunity to make cloth bags that we sell. And actually they receive the money whether or not it ever sells, because it's to build their sense of confidence in themselves that they can do something. If they've come to us broken, as I mentioned before, those who've been really tortured or victims of some terrible sort of violence inflicted on them, it's wonderful to walk into our little sewing room and to see them making these bags, choosing the fabrics, which are brought to us by a beautiful Arab Christian woman who works with them. And she purchases the fabric, and it gives them that sense of fulfillment and satisfaction.
Well, Rita, thank you. It's been so amazing to hear the story. And I know that many of our viewers know about the shelter, but I'm new. So I've really appreciated the opportunity to hear more about the work that you do here. And as I said before, I love the heart. And I know that our viewers love the heart as well. We want to just encourage you, continue to pray for the shelter. Thank you so much for your donations that help these projects that Rita has told us about. And we know that there'll be lots of opportunities for you to help with those in the future as well. So God bless you as you give. And you can follow us on our website or on our social media accounts at FCF Jeff, or Instagram is First Century Foundations. And we just want to encourage you to follow so that you can be aware of the different things that we're doing from day to day. And God bless you as you continue to partner with us here at First Century Foundations.
First Century Foundations has been making a difference in the lives of some of Israel's most needy for years. And you have been a vital part of this important work. Because of your gifts, we have been able to support the believers in the Holy Land, who every day are sharing the love of God with the elderly, Holocaust survivors, refugees, underprivileged children, and everyone in need from all backgrounds and walks of life. This practical approach of feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, and visiting the sick is making a real difference in many lives throughout the land of Israel. Call or write today and become a monthly partner for just $30 a month or more, and begin to make a real difference in the lives of Israel's most needy. And when you call, be sure to ask for the free Israel Prayer Watch, so you will be up to date on all that is happening with the ministries that you are supporting. We're waiting to hear from you.
on today's show, we've focused on honoring women. And I think that's a great subject that we can focus on. You know, we've come a long way when it comes to, you know, how women are treated in our society and how women are viewed in our society, but really, we probably still have a long way to go. Jesus, of course, was the one who started us down this road by elevating women to a higher status in his society than they had ever been before. We talked about a text together with Father Kelly, and I'd like to read that for you today. It's found in Luke chapter 8 and verse 1. After this, Jesus traveled about from one town and village to another, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom of God. The 12 were with him, and also some women who had been cured of evil spirits and diseases. Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had come out, Joanna, the wife of Chuza, and the manager of Herod's household, and Susanna, and many others. These women were helping to support them out of their own means. You know, we read that text and we understand and realize that, you know, Jesus worked together with the 12. He was very, very much involved with his disciples, who incidentally, as Father Kelly pointed out, are not actually even mentioned in this text. They're not named, they're just referred to as the 12. But these women are actually named: Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Susanna. And they were ones who not only, you know, followed Jesus in his ministry, but helped to support him out of their means. And so by including these women in his ministry and by reaching out to other women in the Gospels, like the woman who was caught in adultery, what a beautiful scene, you know, as Jesus reaches down and he lifts her up after asking her, you know, is anyone left who condemns you? And she says, no, Lord, nobody. And he says, well, you go and sin no more. That's the kind of interaction that Jesus had with women in the Bible. You know, speaking about the women that Jesus ministered to, we visited a great ministry today. We visited Rita at the shelter on Carmel. And it's an incredible work that she's doing there with Sudanese refugees and other women who come to them who are in desperate need. And they not only need help for themselves, they have children, some of them that they're raising as well. And so we want to just remind you, we work with Rita and her ministry and many other ministries here in the land. And we don't like to over ask, but you know, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for those who are in need here in the land of Israel. And so if you could see it in your heart, if you could find a way clear, you know, to help us with a gift, the information will be on your screen. And we want to thank you for standing with us and for supporting the ministry of First Century Foundations as we reach out to over 70 ministries in the land of Israel. God bless you for your faithfulness, and we'll see you next time on First Century Foundations.
Thank you for watching. To learn more about this program and the ministries in Israel that we help, or to receive the Israel Prayer Watch, call the number on the screen or visit us online at firstcenturyfoundations.com. And to keep up to date on all that we're doing, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join Jeff Futers again in Israel next week on First Century Foundations.